Welcome to Star Kingdom, where we are obsessed with Star Wars Unlimited. I'm Ryan, and I'm joined today by my good friend Boba Fett, who, we kind of look alike if you squint. Anyway, I played him at my locals this week, did okay with a pretty fun deck that I'm going to share with you, because I'm considering taking it to my planetary qualifier in a couple of weeks, but we'll talk about if that's a good idea or not. Before we get into it, let me tell you who else is obsessed with Star Wars Unlimited and a whole bunch of other TCGs, and that's TopDeckTCG.com. As you can see, they are hosting a bunch of my other content, the Farm Boy to Jedi series. We've also got stuff from KTOD and some of the other big names in Star Wars Unlimited. Not only that, this is a great place to also buy singles. They've got a whole bunch of games represented here, including Star Wars Unlimited, and if you use my promo code at checkout, which is of course Star Kingdom, you'll save 10% on your entire order. So yeah, check out Top Deck TCG. I'll have a link down below. Let me know what you think about all of their available strategy articles and content and their single selection. Just leave me a comment. That'll be fun. Okay, now let's talk about what I call Boba Fett's keys to victory, because we are built around the idea that most of our units have keywords on them, stuff like Restore or Sentinel, and we're going to use those along with Boba Fett as our leader, who rewards us for having keyworded units. One of the things I like about this deck is that you have an okay matchup against stuff like Sabine, because we've got removal and some early answers for her, but we can also deploy a big enough board to outlast the tempo, something maybe like Boba Fett would have, and we can be aggressive enough to get underneath a true control deck. Now, we're not great at any one of these, but I don't think there's really a matchup where we sit down and just cannot win. So if you like a flexible game plan that kind of rewards smart play and good sequencing, let's take a closer look at Boba Fett here and see what he has to offer. All right, so first, up in the 2-cost slot, we've got some restored arcs for space, some Battlefield Marines, some Kuiil, a copy of Val that I just had in my collection and wanted to put to use, and some Gamorrean retainers. Now, all of these, except for the Marine, have a keyword on them, which means playing any one of them can then trigger our leader Boba Fett, who can then buff up somebody, including whoever we just played, if that's a good defensive option. The Marines are there just because they are really good stats, and even though they're vanilla, they can still get buffed by playing somebody else with a keyword, so that lets them hit pretty hard. Up in the 3-drops, we've got Yoda, Admiral Akbar, Echo Base Defenders, and Concord Dawn Interceptors. Again, all keywords, all pretty reasonable units to run, and they just synergize really well with what we're trying to do here. For 4, we have the option of Bright Hope up in space or modded cohort. The ambush and raid, along with Boba Fett's buff, lets her punch for 5. That's perfect for knocking out Sabine when she flips, or just having her in our pocket to crash into something that might otherwise be a problem for us. Then for 5, we've got the Adelphi Patrol Wing. So again, no keyword on this, but when played, we get a free attack with something, and it's just a nice beefy space unit that can, wrestle with fire spray or pour on some extra damage up there in space if our opponent is kind of neglecting to defend themselves there. Then for 6, we have Obi Wan Kenobi, who works really well for protecting our Boba Fett leader when he gets deployed. We can actually play Obi Wan first, exhaust our leader to give him +1 because he's a Sentinel, then deploy Boba Fett, which buffs Obi Wan again, making him a 6/6 Sentinel that our opponent will have to deal with before they can attack our leader. 7 resources gets us Luke Skywalker, the most expensive card in the deck. If you want to budgetize this list, I think he's the first thing you got to take out. But again, he's got Restore, which is a great keyword and definitely helps us survive those longer games. We also have U-Wing reinforcements down there, which is really great for us. We have so many 2 and 3 cost units, so this will let us play a couple of those guys. And then if we still have Boba Fett kicking around, they all potentially get +1/+1. So this can add a lot of power late in the game. Great for getting us across the finish line against a control deck, maybe rebuilding right after a super laser blast, something like that. Then finally at the top, we've got a couple copies of Home 1. Again, if you wanted to budgetize the list, you could take these out and maybe run the green snow speeders, because they do kind of a similar thing. We're just looking to get some extra value out of our discard pile and pour on those last few points of damage that we need to lock in victory. And then for events, we don't have Energy Conversion Lab, so we're kind of building our own with a few copies of Timely Intervention, which might be useful. We've got one copy of The Force is With Me, which works great if we've got Yoda, Obi Wan, or Luke, because we've got a little Force package there. But even without any of our Jedi, we can still give something to experience and attack with it in one action, which can be a knockout blow against a lot of decks. And then we got some removal cards with Takedown and Fell the Dragon. Kind of covers both Sabine before the Dark Saber shows up, or if she sticks it on somebody else, maybe because we knocked out the leader with our modded cohort, or if we come across like a Star Destroyer or something, or Crate Dragon, whatever. We've got Fell the Dragon there to kind of answer those. So all in all, we kind of have good game early, mid, and late. I really like this list. I think it's very flexible, and I'm excited to show off how it works. Now, I put a lot of thought into how best to do that, right? We could play on Carabast against live humans, but that takes a long time. I've tried it before. Opponents tend to just walk away in the middle of their turns, and the games can really drag out, or when they realize that they're going to lose, they might just disconnect, and then I kind of have a bunch of wasted footage that doesn't really have a payoff. So I decided instead, we're going to use Force Table for this. Now, obviously, playing on Force Table means we're only playing against a computer opponent, so they're not going to have the same level of acuity that a human would, but we get more control over what we play against and the length of the games, so I think that still is an okay way of just showing what my deck is capable of. But if you disagree with me, you're welcome to argue down in the comments. That's half of the fun of YouTube. All right, so Force Table, I'm going to run us through 3 games here. We'll play against Standard Sabine with the Darksabers in there. We'll play against Standard Boba, which is the mono yellow or mono cunning list that's really popular. And then we'll finish against a Standard Qi'ra. So that's going to give us kind of like an aggressive opponent, a tempo, mid-range kind of opponent, and a more controlling kind of opponent. Just kind of the whole gamut there to test how Boba Fett's keywords can kind of handle all 3 of those situations. So I've set Sabine up here to be our first opponent, and I'm going to give her the aggressive AI behavior as well to kind of motivate her to go after our base, and we'll see how well we can do. Here we go. All right, the cards have been dealt, the decks have been shuffled, well, not in that order, I guess. We have an opening hand with 2 retainers, a U-Wing reinforcement, Fell the Dragon, our 1 copy of Val, an Echo-based Defender. I kind of was hoping to get like Kuiil in our opening hand or Restored Arcs, so we'd have a little bit of Restore going, but this isn't too bad, right? The Sentinels into more Sentinels might also work for us, so I am not gonna mulligan here. And in terms of resources, I think I want to put down probably Val and this U-Wing reinforcement. We'll kind of stick to the green cards here and just build up a nice Sentinel wall and see what that does for us. All right, and we have the initiative, so we're just gonna play out one of these retainers, see what our opponent does, and then keep the initiative. All right, they used Sabine to ping both bases for 1. That means we get to keep the initiative. And they had no turn 1 play, so that's great for us. That's pretty rare for a Sabine deck to brick like that, but we'll take it. Okay, we did draw a Restored Arc and our Adelphi Patrol Wing. Again, against Sabine, you probably want to resource your expensive stuff and just try to keep pace with them on the ground. So I think this turn will be Echo-based Defender, and then when we get to 4 resources, it's probably a double play of the Restored Arc and the Gamorrean, which means we're getting rid of this Patrol Wing. And since we've got the initiative here, I think what I actually want to do is play Echo-based Defender, which lets us then exhaust our leader to give +1 to this retainer, which hopefully means we get to attack for 4 here. And that feels pretty good, being aggressive against the aggro deck of the format. So we get in for 4. They used Sabine again to ping both bases, but now we take the lead. And then they deploy the Fighters for Freedom. Okay, so we get to take initiative, and then we're probably just going to immediately send somebody to deal with that, because otherwise they're going to start racking up damage on us. Our draws are Yoda, who's great with Restore, and another Restored Arc. So I'm a little nervous because this is the turn Sabine deploys, and we don't have Modded Cohort or Takedown to deal with her, so we might have to get creative with our units here, but I don't think we need 2 Restored Arcs, so we will park one of those as a resource. And we get to go first here, so do we just pound on the base? Do we trade our Echo Base Defender into their Fighters for Freedom? This is kind of tough because we know Sabine is probably coming, and the worst thing they can do is like play her and then put Darksaber on her. So I think what I actually want to do is play this other Gamorrean Retainer, which lets us use Boba Fett to buff up this Gamorrean Retainer, and now, well, our opponent has played a Wing Leader, so now we don't have to worry about them upgrading their Sabine, which is actually pretty good, but now they've got a 6 toughness Fighters for Freedom, so that's going to be able to punch its way through either of our Sentinels and survive. So I think we'll just use this opportunity to go after their base, and then they're going to attack using the Saboteur Fighters for Freedom, so they get to ignore both of our Sentinels, which is actually okay. We're still going to kind of wait for them to try and deploy this Sabine, so I might as well play this Restored Arc up here in space. All right, and then down comes Sabine. So now we can attack into her with our Echo Base Defender, and then if she wants to attack us, she'll have to go through one of these Sentinels, and that'll kill her. So I think that's the best move here. And that way they can't attack with Sabine and then like Metal Ceremony her. All right, so she trades off with the Echo Base Defender, and now we get to take initiative again, and they have an R2, and that's it. All right, so I was really afraid of like Metal Ceremony coming down to buff a bunch of attackers, but we dodged that. Now we pick up Modded Cohort, a second Fell the Dragon. This gets less and less useful, although they could still hit us with stuff like Poe or Wrecker, so maybe we do want to hold on to one of the Fell the Dragons. But between Yoda and Modded Cohort and the other Fell, I think we're in pretty good shape. All right, we're up to 5. We get to attack first. So this 6 toughness Fighters is really annoying. I might just take out Wing Leader with our Restored Arc and try to keep space clear for a minute. And that'll also restore us a bit. That's always good against an aggro deck here. And then they've got Cassian from hand, but they're using ECL to ambush him in and deal with one of our Gamorreans. Okay, so now that we have no green units left, this one no longer has Sentinel, but we can fix that by playing Modded Cohort here. So we will play Cohort. We're going to exhaust Boba Fett, and we can give the Retainer the buff, trigger ambush, and actually use her, I think, to take out R2? Or do we just get rid of Cassian? I guess getting rid of R2 kind of prevents them from digging too much deeper in their deck, and it minimizes the damage on our Cohort. Now this still has Saboteur, so I guess they don't have to deal with our Retainer. But now we get to send 4 damage. Now do we take out Cassian? Do we deal some damage to the Fighters, or just pour it on their base? I think I like putting 4 on their base. That actually keeps us ahead in the damage race. So I think this shows kind of how like the keyword deck is keeping pace with Sabine. Like it's close, but a lot of the time she would have just like won by now, and she already used up her ECL. So now we don't even have to worry about like Poe or Wrecker coming down. We're about to flip our Boba. We've still got some answers in hand here if they do bring out Poe or Wrecker or whatever, but we got to put something down. So I think we can get rid of this extra Retainer. And we've got first move, so I kind of like playing Akbar here. We get to deal 3 damage for free, which can just pick off this Cassian. Seems pretty good. We can also give our Retainer a buff again and shrink their board a little bit. So unfortunately this guy still has Saboteur. He gets to ignore that Retainer, which is getting kind of annoying. I think at this point we're going to actually deploy our leader, which will buff up everybody. They play a red 3. which we can immediately now take out because we've got a 3-powered restored arc. So I kind of like doing that. It's also going to heal us again. And then they just have a Battlefield Marine, which we can mop up with Cohort or Boba or whatever. Kind of want to deal with this Fighters for Freedom before that does any more damage to us, though. So I think, well, Cohort will attack for 5 here. Oh, I guess we could have just gone base, right? 5, yeah, we had like lethal on board already, I think. So probably should have just pushed damage there. Especially now we're at 20 and 16. Okay, but we're about to have like Yoda and some more restore with Akbar, so we just need to kind of mop up their board. So I think we can use these Gamorreans to take out the fighters. They take initiative, that's fine. We can use Boba Fett to take out this Marine, and now we're in pretty good shape, especially with Yoda about to also deploy here. And then we draw another Echo-based Defender and a Kuiil, which are both great. So I think we give up the Fell the Dragon. No, I guess we give up Kuiil so we can play the Defender and Fell if we really need it. That gives us 7. Alright, so they do have Wrecker, but they already used their ECL, so they just use him to blow up a resource and knock out our leader. Okay. So I think first we play Echo-based Defender. Just in case they got any more surprises for us. They just use Sabine to ping. Also going to Fell the Dragon and just get rid of Wrecker while we can. And then we get to just attack. So Yoda gonna restore 2. And then Akbar restores another one. Alright, and now they need like, I don't even know. I don't think they can even deal any more damage to us. We got a Cohort and an Interceptor, perfect. So we'll just keep both of those because they are 7 together. And they've got a Sabine, but we can ignore that because we're about to just wipe them off the face of this game. I mean, actually, we can even play Cohort here. Use our leader to buff up our Echo base. Modded Cohort takes out their Sabine before they can put like Darksaber on it or anything weird. And we're, yeah, so they can't even like wing leader her, and now we're like out of range of for a cause I believe in, and now since they have a 25-point base, our Echo-based Defender gets to hit for 5, and we have beaten Sabine. So I think that went pretty well. I mean, a little bit of a misplay there. I think I had lethal the turn before, but just stabilizing on those early turns, making use of our keywords, our restore, our sentinels, we just kind of really messed with Sabine's game plan and prevented her from just racking up the damage as fast as she wanted to. So let's see how we fare against a different opponent. Okay, this time we're going up against the mono Cunning Boba Fett. I think this one won at Gen Con a couple of weeks ago, so it's a pretty popular and established list. Our opening 7 has a Marine, a Val, Luke, some Sentinels, and a home 1. I think that's good enough to keep here, so no to the mulligan. And yeah, I think we're gonna have to put down home 1 and Luke, as much as I love to keep those guys. Alright, so they open with Crafty Smuggler. We're gonna lead off with our Battlefield Marine here, which actually lines up pretty nicely against that. Next 2 cards are Akbar and another Marine, so I kind of like keeping the greens. We'll put Val away. And now they surprise strike, so alright, they get to deal either a ton of damage with their, yeah. So +3 and an attack with the Smuggler, we take 5. So now do we just bop this guy, or we use Akbar to strip the shield? I guess that's pretty good, actually. And we can even give our Marine a +1. So now, do we just hit them for 4? Or do we kill this smuggler? I think I like putting some damage on their base while we got the buff, right? This guy's a lot less scary when he doesn't have a shield on him. Next 2 draws are Obi Wan and U-Wing Reinforcement. I like both of those. But we're about to have 4 resources. So are we doing 2 2-drops, which means we don't need this 3? Or do we keep this for like turn 5? We can do like a 3 and a 2 if we draw another one. So maybe we do park U-Wing Reinforcement since we're pretty far away from playing that. Opponent leads off with their crafty smuggler. Fine. I think I'm gonna play this retainer. We'll give Akbar the +1. And they use no good to me dead to exhaust our Marine, but we still get to attack with Akbar. And now that he's got the buff, we can take out this crafty smuggler and try to keep their board from getting out of hand here. And they've got the mercenary gunship up in space. Okay, well, we've got plenty of ways to deal with that. If we draw Bright Hope or Concord Dawn Interceptors, we'll be okay. So I think now we'll just play out our Marine. So we got a really beefy ground force down here, and they just have a 3-powered ship in space. And look at that, we drew the interceptors, so we can do a 3 and a 2 together, which means we probably don't need this Echo-based defender. Opponent does get to go first. They surprise strikes. This is going to be a big hit off of this gunship. But that's all right. We've got some restore. We've got plenty of other stuff to do. So I think first we're going to still play this interceptors, even though it's too late to block. It is still a keyword unit, which means we get to buff up somebody else. So I guess we'll give this Marine some extra firepower. They deploy their Boba Fett. So we will... Well, they're going to have to go through our retainer. So I think if we use the Marine to hit Boba, now if they attack us and they go into the retainer, they just lose their leader, which... Okay, I mean, I don't know if that's just force table, not really thinking far ahead, like a real human opponent might have not done that. But again, we're just trying to get a feel for what the decks are capable of, and they have hit us for 12 damage already. So Akbar restores a little and does a little, and now they've got Toro out there. So we'll just play this last Marine and then probably pass. Yep. All right, so an extra copy of Akbar doesn't really help us at this time. We do want to play Obi Wan here and then deploy our leader. They have Cunning to bounce our interceptor and tap our 2 Marines. Oh my god. That's actually not terrible, right? We can just play this Bright Hope, which now kind of blanks their gunship. And we can even use our leader to buff up Akbar, and we can return one of these exhausted Marines to our hand, which draws us another card. So now we're like way ahead on cards, which feels pretty good. We could play one of those Marines again. And we're gonna deploy our Boba Fett here, which buffs up both Bright Hope and Akbar. Akbar gets to attack for 3. Not a whole lot, but he does restore, and now we're like in pretty good shape. I mean, not to jinx it, our opponent has no cards in hand. We've got a pretty wide board, and we just get to pour on some damage here. So this actually is looking to be an okay turn. I think next turn we kind of can reinforce space or ambush something on the ground. Restored Arc, Adelphi Patrol Wing is also pretty good. So let's see, if we go up to 7 resources, we could do like a 5-2 or a 4-3. So maybe we don't need Obi Wan here. Although having him on the ground to stop Toro is pretty good, but then we kind of just have like a weird leftover resource, and I don't think that's where we want to be. So we'll resource Obi Wan. That gives us 7, and that gives us the most different combinations. Ooh, especially if they're playing Fire Spray. We're gonna want more Sentinels up in space. Good to know, good to know. Okay, so So we will, what's our first move here? What if we play modded cohort and ambush? She actually takes out Toro. And now fire spray can deal 5 to Bright Hope. We live through that. Now we can start doing some attacks on the ground. Maybe get in with Akbar here and restore. Okay, next they throw away Cartel Spacer to get rid of Bright Hope. And then we get to play our Interceptors, which is another Sentinel, which can hold off these guys. We still get to do some attacks. We'll go Boba to the base. And then both Marines for another 6. So this is a 30-point base, so we don't win quite yet, but another turn here should do it, unless they've got a way to like bounce this Interceptor. They could have another copy of Cunning and like buff the fire spray and get in for a bunch of damage, but now we've got Takedown, Fell the Dragon, and we still have our Patrol Wing, which I don't think we're really going to get to play here, so we'll go up to 8 resources, so we've got access to both pieces of removal. They do have a surprise strike. Okay. So that lets them deal with our Interceptor. And so now I think I just want to keep them off of this fire spray. So we'll use Takedown since it's already wounded. Okay, and then they play Boba Unit, which I think we could just kind of ignore and just go right to the base, right? Get in for 4 with our Boba. Attack again, Akbar for the win. All right, so that's 2 wins. Again, showing off the value of the keywords and stacking those bonuses and just all the elements coming together, right? We've got kind of an aggressive board state, but backed up with some good removal control cards, which lets us kind of dictate the flow of combat there. So let's see how we do against our final opponent, which is probably going to be the toughest one, but I'm feeling pretty good about this. So here we go. Okay, final battle is against Qi'ra, and this is another pretty well-established control-y kind of a deck here. So we're going to need to have some good moves, and we don't have a single playable card in our opening hand this time, so we got a mulligan for the first time tonight. Hopefully we can find something that we can play for just 2 resources. Kuiil will do it. Okay. So what don't we need here? I'm not super familiar with the Qi'ra list, so I don't even really know. But I don't think we want Val. So turn 2 Kuiil into Yoda probably is our best line. We got Bright Hope on 4 then, so I don't think we're gonna have time to play this Interceptors. All right, maybe we should have kept the Interceptors, so we could have answered Inferno 4, but we had no idea that was coming. Okay, so we just deploy Kuiil and pass. And once again, kind of an awkward spot for us here. U-Wing Reinforcements is really expensive, but it's also one of our best cards against a control deck because it can let us play out multiple threats. So I don't think I want to get rid of that necessarily. Although we do have 3 copies and plenty of time to draw another one, so I guess that's what we do. And they've got the initiative, so they are going to power the dark side, force us to give up our Kuiil. Kind of annoying, but whatever. So now we could use all of our resources by playing Yoda, or we could try to dance up in space with this restored arc. I think I just like getting Yoda down and using all of our resources. They get to attack for 2, we get to claim. We're off to the draws. All right. Picked up a Luke and a Takedown. So once again, I think we're just dunking the most expensive card. So as much as I hate turning all of our good stuff into resources, we kind of need to be the more aggressive player here and just put on damage while we can. So we're up to 4 now. We could just play Bright Hope and block this Inferno 4. I think that's all right. Can even give it +1, so now it will kill Inferno 4 if they attack into it. And I don't want to return Yoda to my hand, so... Okay, so they used Qi'ra's ability to deal 2 to their own Inferno 4 to give it a shield, so now it can actually hit Bright Hope twice, which is, you know, that's something. We'll get in with Yoda, heal ourselves, put 2 on them. They deal 2 to Bright Hope and crack their shield, so now we just get to take the initiative. And then they Power of the Dark Side us, which I'm kind of okay with, because when Yoda goes, we get to draw another card, so... we'll do that. And we drew a timely, and now we've got patrols and Fell the Dragon, all of which looks pretty good here. I mean, we could play this restored arc with timely and just ambush their Inferno 4, but I'm not super worried about it. I kind of like keeping this patrol wing, actually, so I think we'll just resource this restored arc. And then, since we've got initiative, we'll actually play the patrol wing. We get to attack with Bright Hope and deal 4 to their base. Looks pretty good. They deploy their Qi'ra. When deployed, heal all damage from each unit, then deal damage to each unit equal to half its remaining HP rounded down. So now they've, you know, effectively improved their Inferno 4, but still not really worried about that. And now we just got to take the initiative here. They get to deal 4 to our base, but next turn I think we're going to modded cohort her. And we draw a takedown and an Akbar. Interesting. And this is also the turn that we can deploy our leader, so I don't think we need 2 takedowns here. Or do we? Because we can get rid of the client? Maybe we don't need Fell the Dragon, although I know this deck has like capital ships, so maybe we do want that. Maybe we don't need this timely intervention anymore. That's what we'll do. Alright, so do we just ambush, take out Qi'ra? I think so, and we can even give our patrol wing the buff because she can just deal 4 here and knock out Qi'ra. Pretty good trade. Alright, opponent's leader is gone. They stuck a bounty on our patrol wing, so I guess we're gonna attack with that, get in for 5. And then they Fell the Dragon on it. Cool, so that heals them for 5. Ouch. Okay, well, we'll just deploy Boba here. They take the initiative. Yeah, they really don't want to give up Inferno 4 into Bright Hope, so we'll just keep putting on the damage. Do I want to crack the shield on the client? I think I just want to hit base here. That's going to bring us up to 13. Now they've got the initiative. We pick up Obi Wan and another Fell the Dragon. All right, I think we're going to put one of these takedowns down and use the other one to just get rid of the client here, I think. Okay, so they send Inferno 4 into Bright Hope, which is surprising. I think I will just take down client right now before he can bounty anybody. And then they have Vigilance. Heal their base and defeat a unit with 3 or less remaining HP, so they just pick off Bright Hope, which isn't too bad, actually. Alright, so this battle is clearly more of a slog than we had against Sabine or Boba Fett, right? Our board is pretty empty, so is theirs. Our hands both have some cards in them still, so we're not really gaining a clear advantage. We could play this Akbar, but I don't like wasting his ability, although it's unlikely they're gonna play anything he could kill anytime soon anyway. So we'll just play him to get an extra body on board and then pass. Alright, so we got U-Wing, which is good. We've got Obi Wan doubles, which I don't think we really need, although we probably also don't need 8 resources. Okay, super laser tech. Sure, we will ignore that. Go to their base, heal ourselves. Alright, overwhelming barrage means we should not have ignored the super laser tech. Get in for 4 more here. Okay, they're at 18. We guess this is a good time to just play out Obi Wan and then pass. So now we do have lethal on board. And we're not going to resource anything else because I'm pretty comfortable with 8. A second overwhelming barrage. This is the most powerful super laser tech ever. I think we just attack the base with Obi Wan. Put them to 23. They power of the dark side us. I guess we give up that Obi Wan, put 2 experience on Boba Fett, and then attack with Boba Fett. And that'll do it. So that's 3 clean wins. Again, I know Force Table is not the best way to test a deck, but I think this still kind of shows the lines available to you with this Boba Fett deck. So let's put that up on screen one more time and kind of go over final thoughts. Okay, so Boba Fett's keys to victory. Usually Heroic Vigilance Command isn't a super strong color combination, but by stacking up our keywords here, we have a good mix of Sentinels, Restore cards, and even some Ambush thanks to Modded Cohort and Timely Intervention. We were kind of able to answer almost anything our opponent was trying to do. And so really the important stuff is having those early turns go well, right? You want to hit some of your 2-cost units. Restored Arc or Kuiil is my personal favorite to open, but also Battlefield Marine, Gamorrean Retainer, not terrible either. And then following that up with Echo Base Defender, Akbar, Yoda. You really want to kind of start building your board out. I think going wide is preferable because once you flip your Boba Fett, anything with a keyword gets +1/+1. So he is a 4/7 unit himself, but if you have 3 keyword units out there, he's going to give them each +1. So you're effectively adding 7/7 to the board in a way, which is pretty strong. So I like kind of having a nice wide board with lots of little dudes that are either Sentinels to kind of absorb damage while you're chipping in with your Restore people to kind of keep your base healthy. And you're really just kind of buying time until Obi-Wan Luke show up or Home 1 U-Wing reinforcements deploys a bunch of stuff to the board. Lots of options with how your games play out. And we saw how effective that was against Sabine. We were able to just kind of keep ourselves healthy and answer her threats as they were being deployed. Against Boba Fett, we were able to kind of keep up with his tempo moves and dodge, waylays and stuff. And then against that final Qi'ra opponent, which again, I will admit, Force Table, not super intelligent with all of its moves, but I mean, that deck still just has to play an Avenger, right? Like that's still a good card, no matter how smart the computer is. But we were able to avoid all that and kill them before they were able to really kind of get into their late game. So overall, I am pretty happy with Fett's keys to victory here. I'm going to kind of maybe keep an eye out for any way that I can kind of tweak or improve this. Maybe a 3rd copy of Luke, or I don't know. I like the removal package. I like the units. Everyone's got a keyword except for the Marine, who's just there to be beefy. But I would love to hear what you think. So drop me a comment down below if you like games like this, if you want to see more creative decks, budget decks, competitive decks, whatever. I'm happy to show off just about anything. And also, let me know if you're okay with playing on Force Table. I think that kind of helps things flow a little bit better and kind of control what we're up against. But if you prefer to see live opponents on Karabast, I can switch back to that if that's something that really matters to you. But you got to let me know down in the comments. Then make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, because we're trying to do great things here at our Starcanum University, where we are just obsessed with Star Wars Unlimited. It's such a cool game. I'm having a great time with it, and I can't wait to bring you more content. But again, first you got to like and subscribe and go check out Top Deck, because they've got, a bunch of great content there as well, and all the singles that you need to make this Boba Fett deck. So pay them a visit and use promo code StarCanum to get 10% off your entire order there. And let me know how that works out for you. Thanks for watching. Have a great one. Stay unlimited. I don't know. Bye.